Welcome to Midwest Wanderer, where we explore nature, history, and culture along America's scenic and historic highways and byways. I'm Skip. Well, Connie, in our trip to Wichita last summer, we had an interesting experience at Botanica, which, in my opinion, is a unique spin on a botanic garden. What do you think?
Yes, I really like Botanica. I think it was one of the better botanic gardens that we've been to. It's more than plants and flowers, and most of the bigger botanic gardens do incorporate some art and some fountains, but this was, I think, more so. A lot of art, architecture, and water.
And I think they also focused on the family as a whole. There's some areas that are unique to children.
Yeah, and being a kid at heart, that was my favorite area. But let's start at the beginning. When we first got there, we walked through the building where you buy your tickets, etc. And we were in the Chinese Garden of Friendship, which is a traditional Chinese garden with all kinds of architecture and a stream and plants. And every element of the garden has some significant Chinese meaning. For instance, there's a wall that's kind of a scallop shape, and they had a dragon at the top of that wall that shows the movement of the dragon. And when you get to the dragon's head, in the mouth, he's got a pearl in it. Well, that's the treasure dragon, and he's the protector and the keeper of underground treasure.
I enjoyed the stream with the fish swimming in it.
Oh, yeah, the koi pond. Basically, koi are carp, but they're pretty. Giant goldfish.
Giant goldfish.
Yeah. Yeah, it had a pond and then a stream where they were swimming.
When you exit the traditional Chinese garden, you walk into an area where they have the garden train.
Yeah, your favorite.
It was my favorite.
Yeah, you're a big railroad fan, so I knew you would really enjoy that. And I liked it too.
It was kind of unique to me that in this part of the country that they have this outside because the weather is a factor with those type of railroads.
Yeah, I imagine it's probably a seasonal thing, so they probably take it in for the winter.
I think something that fascinated you just beyond the garden train was the kaleidoscope.
Yeah, we had seen one of those when we were in Streeter, Illinois. It was in the downtown area, and it was really fascinating. It's a pot of flowers or plants, and then there's a kaleidoscope attached to it that you can look into, and you spin the pot, and it works just like a kaleidoscope. Some beautiful images through there, beautiful designs. So I had fun with that. After that, we started walking through the gardens and looking at some of the plants, and we happened to be there at the time of a butterfly migration. And I think it was supposed to be monarch migration, but we saw a lot more than monarchs that were flittering around, especially certain plants that they're attracted to.
Speaking of monarch migration, I am fascinated how far they actually travel, the thousands of miles that they go to for their winter home.
Yeah, imagine it. I think they go all the way from northern United States, maybe even in Canada, all the way down to Mexico and beyond. So, yeah, it's amazing that such a small being can travel that far with wing power.
They also have a butterfly house, which we found interesting. There were more butterflies outside the house than there were inside.
It sure was. I'm sure it was just because it happened to be butterfly migration time. But yeah, it was really hard to capture some of those butterflies that were in the house with the camera because they just flitter so much.
I think you did a much better job catching them outside.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Another thing that we enjoyed in the gardens were the fountains and sculptures. And I know a lot of gardens have those things, but this just seemed to have so many different fountains, sculptures, art pieces, and streams. There's something about water that is just so relaxing, especially moving water. Water coming through the fountains, the sound of the water rushing down a stream. It's refreshing. So when it's a hot day, somehow it makes me feel cooler, even though I'm not getting wet. I don't know if that makes sense, but it just does.
It's very tranquil listening to the water as it ripples.
That is true. That is true. Very relaxing. And while we were there, and this was a temporary exhibit, there were dinosaurs that you fell in love with.
Animated dinosaurs.
Yeah, I think they were motion censored so that when you'd get near them, they would start moving. Those were really cool.
They
So,
really were.
yeah,
They did an excellent job with them.
it was. And so I imagine there are different temporary exhibits that they bring in every now and then. But that was a really cool one.
I'm sure on their website they list that information.
And the children's garden is amazing. Like I said, it was my favorite area of Botanica. There is a musical maze, which is kind of neat. It's very interactive.
And you couldn't resist the vertical xylophone.
Of course not. I had to play. And also cool were the monster woods. Those trees. I don't know how many. A lot of trees that have faces in them. They kind of reminded me of the trees in the Wizard of Oz, the ones that throw the apples. It's kind of scary looking but fun at the same time. There was a tree house and big spider web and oh, speaking of sculptures, there were sculptures there too. Cute little fairies that were here and there.
I think you were quite fascinated by those.
Yep, yep. Love that area. That was my absolute favorite. But we also did a little bit more in the children's area. There was a bridge that you could climb over that there were a lot of kids playing on. But underneath the bridge, there was a giant troll sleeping.
And your favorite?
The carousel. And for once, I think this probably is one of the very, very few times that I didn't run and ride the carousel because I love carousels and I love to ride them.
What I was surprised about was that they were already setting up the lights for the Christmas season.
Oh, I know. This was the end of August and they were getting ready for Christmas. I guess they have to start that early because for Illuminations Botanica for the Christmas season, they put up over 2 million lights. So that's a lot of lights. But that was a great day. We really enjoyed Botanica. Like I said, it was one of my favorite gardens that we've been to.
And with the weather being so warm, we went in the morning, so it was quite a nice morning.
That's true. That's true. We got there and then we got out before it got too warm to be walking around.
Well, that is it for our visit to Botanica in Wichita, Kansas. I'm Skip.
And I'm Connie.
Safe travels.
And happy travels.